Welcome to Veiled Narratives, where emotions breathe, hearts speak, and hidden desires unfold in every tale. Today, we dive into a story where confidence meets power and destiny listens. Maya had always been a force, one of those rare souls who didn't just walk into a room. She arrived. Not loud, not flashy, but with a presence carved from confidence and curiosity, as if life itself had hand-picked her to challenge the ordinary. She wasn't born into luxury. She grew into elegance with sheer grace and refusal to shrink for anyone. Where others followed rules, Maya followed possibility. Where others feared power, she stared it fearlessly in the face, and that fearlessness led her to Night Enterprises. A skyscraper wrapped in glass and ambition, towering so tall it touched clouds like it owned the horizon. The lobby alone felt like a world made to worship success. Polished marble floors reflected chandeliers that dripped like stars frozen mid-fall. Every step echoed power, every breath smelled like money, dreams, and the quiet hush of people who changed destiny by speaking less and achieving more. But Maya wasn't intimidated. She walked through that glass palace with a calm heartbeat and a half smile. Curious, unbothered, awake to every detail. While employees moved like they were auditioning for perfection, Maya moved like she already belonged. Her voice smooth, warm, a melody that carried confidence, not arrogance. Her laughter, light yet commanding. The kind that made you wonder, not if she was special, but how long it would take for everyone else to realize it. And at the top of that tower ruled a man whose reputation tasted like mystery and steel. Adrian Knight, billionaire, visionary, a man spoken about in hushed tones, as though saying his name too boldly might summon a storm. It wasn't just his success, though that alone could have built kingdoms. It was his presence. A quiet intensity sharpened by disciplined elegance, and a gaze that could make even confidence tremble if it wasn't built right. Rumor said he trusted few, smiled rarely, and loved never. Not because he couldn't, but because power had made him choose solitude over chaos. Until she walked in, until her laugh, bright and unapologetic, cut through the cold air of the executive lounge one golden evening. It happened like fate always does, not loud, not dramatic, but perfectly timed. Colleagues teased her, eyes playful yet nervous. The CEO is impossible to work under. No one lasts. You'd melt. Maya raised a brow, playful fire in her eyes. Oh please, the boss couldn't handle a girl like me, a joke, a tease, a line thrown into the universe with careless confidence. But destiny caught it. Silence fell, a stillness that felt like diamonds placed delicately on velvet. She didn't need to turn. The shift in the room told her. Someone powerful was listening. He stood behind her. Adrian Knight, tall, composed, dressed in a suit tailored with precision so sharp it could cut air. His presence wasn't loud. It commanded instead of asked, ruled instead of spoke. She turned slowly, elegance draping her posture like silk. Their eyes met. Electric didn't describe it. Electricity was too small. This was a collision of worlds, a spark between steel and flame, a silent dare between dominance and daring. He didn't scold her, didn't frown, didn't dismiss her as another playful voice in a crowd afraid to exist loudly. Instead he smiled. Not a full smile, a rare, precise curve of lips, like he'd discovered something unexpected, and very, very interesting. His voice came smooth, deep, velvet dipped in authority. Try me tonight. No threat, no anger, just curiosity, challenge. Invitation wrapped in confidence so refined it felt like luxury. Her breath paused, not in fear, but in recognition, of a man who didn't run from fire. He walked into it to see if it bowed to him. Maya didn't lower her gaze. Her eyes held his, steady, fearless, almost playful, because she knew power, and she was not made to kneel. In that silent moment, the air tasted like unsaid promises. The room around them faded, leaving nothing but two figures standing in a world of glass, ambition and unspoken desire. He was a fortress, she was a storm, two forces designed not to destroy each other, but to change each other. And while no one else breathed, Maya simply smiled, slow and knowing, as if destiny had just knocked and she had decided to open the door. That was the beginning, not of romance, not of chaos, but of a story whispered by fate and written in silent glances. Between a girl too bold for limits and a man too powerful for fear. The world outside looked ordinary. Cars moving, lights flickering, people living. But for Maya the world shifted the moment Adrian Knight spoke that sentence. Try me tonight. Words weren't just sounds now. They were currents of electricity, wrapping themselves around her pulse, tugging at something deep she didn't know existed. Her colleagues stared, wide-eyed, unsure whether they witnessed a warning or the beginning of something forbidden, beautiful and dangerously irresistible. Adrian didn't wait for answers. He didn't need to. He simply met her gaze with calm certainty, the look of a man who never chased anything, yet suddenly, with her, wanted to see what pursuit felt like. 8 p.m. he said quietly. Penthouse, level 52. Not an order, not a request, an invitation. A door slightly opened, daring her to step through, and then he walked away unhurried, like the universe always moved for him, not the other way around. Time felt different after that. Hours passed, but each minute seemed to taste like anticipation and curiosity, like champagne poured slowly into crystal. When night finally kissed the city, Maya stood before the private elevator leading to his penthouse. One swipe of her access badge, newly approved by someone powerful enough to decide the world, and the doors slid open. The elevator rose without a sound, only her heartbeat spoke. Her reflection in the gold-tinted glass wasn't nervous. No, she was glowing. A masterpiece of quiet fire, wrapped in elegance. A silk dress hugging her like moonlight, hair soft waves cascading like whispers, perfume breathing mystery with each step. As the doors opened, the world unfolded before her. A penthouse made not of opulence alone, but of taste. Marble that looked like it remembered oceans, art walls kissed by warm lighting. Glass windows stretching into forever, showcasing the city like it was a jewel and he was its king. She stepped in. Silence lived here, not loneliness but control. Then she saw him. Adrian Knight stood by the floor, to ceiling glass, suit jacket off, sleeves rolled, posture perfect yet relaxed. The city glittered beneath him like galaxies obeying his presence. He turned, and the quiet strength in his eyes softened, just a fraction, but enough. You came, he said. I wasn't sure you actually wanted me to. She replied, her voice poised, not trembling. He approached. Steps measured, like he moved through life with precision carved into bone. I don't say things I don't mean. There was no arrogance. Only certainty. The kind that came from building worlds, breaking limits and mastering silence. He offered her a glass of wine. Not just wine, aged crimson luxury resting in crystal so thin it looked like frozen breath. To storms, he said, raising his glass slightly. To fortresses, she answered, meeting his eyes. A slow smile touched his lips, rare, controlled, devastating. You think I'm a fortress? He asked. I think you're a man who built walls so high even the stars need permission to touch you. And you. He leaned closer. What are you? She exhaled softly, not intimidated, enchanted. A storm doesn't need permission, she whispered. The night unfolded not in fireworks, but in slow, burning gold. They talked, but it wasn't small talk. He asked about dreams, not plans. She spoke of passions, not achievements. They weren't showing off, they were revealing. Two minds peeling layers not to impress, but to understand. He listened like her words mattered. She spoke like he had earned the right to hear them. Their silences weren't empty, they were full. Full of intent. Full of questions neither was ready to voice. When she walked toward the terrace, he followed. A warm breeze kissed her skin, city lights below sparkling like diamonds spilled across velvet night. He stood beside her, not too close, yet somehow close enough that she felt his presence like gravity. You didn't expect me to come, she murmured. No, he replied softly. But I hoped. That single word, hoped, felt heavier than gold from a man who seemed too powerful to need hope at all. She turned to him, their faces inches apart. You don't fear storms, she said. He held her gaze, his voice lower, honest. I fear wanting one and not knowing how to keep it. Her breath caught, not in shock, but realization. Power wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was a confession whispered under stars, and he had just offered her the rarest luxury of all, vulnerability wrapped in strength. Maya smiled, soft yet confident. Maybe, she whispered, storms don't need to be kept. Maybe they just need someone strong enough to stand in them. He didn't touch her. He didn't rush. But his eyes softened, like a man who had spent years in winter and suddenly felt spring. And for that moment, the world didn't move. Time didn't breathe, only two souls stood beneath silent stars, curious, drawn, forever changed in a single night's hush. This wasn't love yet. It was potential, power meeting fire, two worlds not colliding, but circling closer, dangerously, beautifully. A beginning written in quiet promises and cosmic timing. The night stretched like silk, smooth, rich, draped in starlight and secrets. For most people, evenings with CEOs meant contracts, business talks, and stiff etiquette. But this was not a meeting. This was not strategy. This was a beginning. Maya stood at the edge of Adrian's rooftop garden, an oasis sculpted above the world. Glass railing, rare orchids glowing under soft golden lights, the perfume of jasmine drifting lazily in the night air. Everything here whispered luxury, not loud but refined, elegant, like every detail was chosen by hands that respected beauty. And then there was him. Adrian didn't rush toward her. He didn't try to claim space beside her. He simply walked, slowly, controlled, but with a softness new to even him. He stopped exactly one breath away, close enough she felt him without seeing him. "Tell me something," she murmured, eyes still on the city lights. "Do you bring every employee up here?" A low breath escaped him, something between amusement and disbelief. "No, I don't bring anyone here." He paused. "This is my quiet." "Then why me?" The question floated like wind between them, gentle yet bold. He didn't answer immediately. He looked at her, really looked, like he was searching for the right language in a world where he was fluent in power, not emotion. "You walked into my company like you weren't entering a giant," he finally said. "You entered like you already knew you could stand beside one." Maya smiled, gaze still on the horizon. "I've never believed anyone was above me. But I don't think anyone is beneath me, either. That," he whispered, "is why." Silence followed, but it wasn't empty. It held admiration, curiosity, a rising heat neither acknowledged, but both felt like a slow, luxurious burn beneath skin. Then she turned, facing him fully. Up close, he looked less like a man and more like a story. Buttoned down open at the collar, sleeves rolled, jaw carved with precision, eyes deep like winter oceans and warm like private summer suns hidden behind them. He didn't try to dominate the moment. He let her eyes explore him. He let himself be seen. "Do you always speak in walls and puzzles, Mr. Knight?" she teased. "And do you always speak like the world is your stage?" He countered, tone soft, almost admiring. She lifted her chin slightly. "Only when someone worthy is listening." There it was, fire meeting steel again, but softer this time, not challenge, connection. He took a step closer, and it felt like an entire universe shifted forward with him. "Tell me," he said quietly, "what do you see when you look at me?" Most people would have said power, or money, or danger, but Maya was not most people. "I see a man," she whispered, "who has everything, except someone who isn't afraid to walk toward him instead of bowing to him." His breath lingered in the small space between their lips, caught, suspended, alive. "And what do you see?" she asked softly. "When you look at me." His jaw tightened slightly, not in anger but in awareness. "You are chaos," he murmured. "Not the destructive kind, the kind that wakes things up." She didn't blush. She didn't flinch. She felt those words, like silk against skin and fire under ribs. "And does that scare you?" she breathed. He didn't blink, didn't step back. Instead he leaned in, slow, deliberate, eyes locked on hers. "It terrifies me," he said. "And I don't like being afraid." She smiled, soft, real, achingly tender. "You don't have to be afraid of me," she whispered. "But you do have to feel me. I don't do half presence." A heartbeat passed between them like lightning, slow, dancing. "You expect a lot," he murmured. "I expect truth, emotion, depth. And what if I don't know how to give that?" he asked, raw, vulnerable, honest. "Then," she whispered, "you let me teach you." His eyes softened, just a shade, but enough to break something inside him open. They didn't touch. They didn't kiss. They didn't rush. Their closeness was the intimacy. Their breathing was the contact. Their silence the confession. Two souls recognizing each other, not with hands but with hearts. And then the wind carried the scent of jasmine between them, like nature itself blessing the moment. She stepped away first, not because she wanted distance, but because she understood the art of longing. He exhaled softly, almost silently. "You're not what I expected," he admitted. "And you're exactly what I expected," she replied. "Because men like you don't intimidate me. You interest me." He didn't smile, but his eyes did. Slow, warm, unfamiliar. "Tomorrow?" he asked quietly. She held his gaze, fire glowing steady. "Tomorrow," she whispered. "But understand something." Her voice turned to velvet steel. "I'm not here to enter your world. I'm here to build a space where both of us can stand." He nodded, respect, attraction, surrender all mixing subtly in his expression. "And I," he said gently, "will learn how to stand there." And as she turned to leave, the city lights flickered below, but the electricity between them burned brighter. Tonight wasn't passion yet. Tonight wasn't surrender yet. Tonight was the slow, exquisite moment before a kiss, where hearts lean in before lips do. A beginning so soft, so powerful, so inevitable, that destiny paused to watch. Morning didn't arrive gently. It poured into the world in golden ribbons, sliding down skyscraper glass like molten sunrise. For most, it was just another day. But for Maya, something was different. She woke up with a thought she didn't ask for, a name she didn't intend to carry into the light Adrian Knight. Not his power, not his wealth, not his reputation. But the way he looked at her last night, like a man who suddenly remembered he had a heart and didn't know what to do with it. When she walked into Knight Enterprises, whispers followed like perfume trails. "Is that her?" She spoke to him. "Do you think there's something going on?" Maya ignored everything, her footsteps confident, clothes chosen like armor. Black silk blouse, fitted trousers, hair in a soft wave, elegance dripping from simplicity. She was never loud, yet she carried power without trying. And today that power glowed differently, refined, feminine, untouchable. Her colleagues stared not just because she was beautiful, but because she looked like she belonged. The woman who joked yesterday looked today like a woman someone powerful had seen. Adrian entered the office floor soon after, tall, sharp, presence commanding without effort. People straightened, stilled, hid nervous glances like students watching a quiet professor who held futures in his eyes. His gaze swept the room and paused the moment it touched her. But he didn't approach, didn't speak. Not yet. They exchanged the smallest nod, but it felt like a current traveled between them, silent, undeniable. A man known for indifference noticed only her, and the world noticed him noticing. The day moved, heavy with unsaid things. Sometimes silence speaks louder than dialogue, and today silence screamed. Maya worked with her usual grace, but awareness hovered around her like warm breath on glass. At lunch, she sat with colleagues. She didn't look for him, but she felt him. And then, another man approached her table. A visiting executive. Charming, polished, practiced in the art of corporate flirtation. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, confidence dripping like cologne. Her friends giggled. She nodded politely. Power respects politeness, not arrogance. He tried to impress her with business talk. Expensive watch, travels, influence. But she responded with calm, unaffected elegance. Her value never borrowed from someone else's shine. Yet what she didn't see was Adrian, watching from glass walls above, a silent observer leaning slightly forward, jaw tightening almost imperceptibly. He didn't like what he felt. Jealousy was foreign to him, indulgence he never allowed. Possession wasn't his nature, control was. Desire, he mastered that long ago. But this wasn't desire. This was someone entering a space he didn't know he had claimed, her attention. And for the first time in years, emotion cracked the armor of his discipline. Later, she stepped into the elevator, doors closing softly. When he slipped in just before they shut, the air thickened, just the two of them. No audience, no whispers, no distance to hide behind. She kept her gaze forward, elegant restraint, but her breath faltered for a moment. "You seemed busy earlier," he said calmly, eyes forward but voice touched with something new. "Just conversation," she replied softly. "Do you often monitor everyone's lunch discussions?" He turned his head slightly, the smallest movement yet intimate. "No," he murmured, "only yours today." Silence. Electric, tender. "Why?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. And so did he. His throat moved subtly, a sign of emotion disciplined too long. "Because," he said, voice low, rough silk, "I didn't enjoy seeing someone else try to understand you." She inhaled, slow, deep, quiet. The air between them shifted, not tension now, but confession wrapped in control. "And since when do you care who understands me?" she whispered. His eyes lowered to her lips for less than a second. A blink, a mistake, a truth. "Since last night," he replied. The elevator chimed, doors opening, reality grabbing them by the edge. She stepped out first but paused, turning slightly. "You're not used to feeling something you don't command," she said. Not mocking, but gently truthful. "I command everything." He responded instinctively. Habit, instinct, armor. She smiled, slow, knowing, devastatingly elegant. "Not me." And she walked away, heels whispering confidence, leaving behind a man who had built empires, but was now learning he didn't control the one thing suddenly worth having: her attention, her mystery, her fire. His gaze followed her, not with ownership, but hunger disguised as curiosity, respect wrapped in longing. For the first time in his disciplined life, he felt the ache of wanting. And she felt the power of not chasing. Because real queens don't run, they wait for kings to step forward. That afternoon, the company didn't buzz with business. It buzzed with energy, two forces circling each other, closer than before, never touching, but thinking of nothing else. In a world of power, today was not a battle. It was a surrender neither admitted yet. A day where distance became desire, and silence turned into a heartbeat you could hear if you leaned close enough to destiny. Night didn't just fall. It arrived. Like velvet poured over the city, thick with promise and moonlit secrets. Maya stood on the rooftop again, this time not by invitation, but by instinct. Some connections don't need schedules, they simply pull. The garden lights glowed warm gold, soft wind playing with her hair. The city sparkled beneath her feet like a universe laid open, and she felt powerful. Not because of the view, but because she had been seen by someone who sees very few. She wasn't waiting. She never waited. But when Adrian stepped out of the penthouse doors and walked toward her, something inside her acknowledged a truth. Sometimes the universe doesn't wait for your permission. It simply decides. He stopped beside her, not too close, but close enough that the air shifted, warmed, awakened. "You came back," he said softly. "I didn't come back," she replied, eyes on the skyline. "I came forward," he exhaled, a quiet sound, yet heavy with meaning. "You unsettled me today," he murmured. His voice wasn't commanding now. It was human. "Good," she said gently. "Stillness is death. Movement is life." He studied her profile. The way moonlight kissed her cheek, how her strength looked like poetry carved in starlight. "You speak like someone who knows the cost of becoming," he whispered. "And you look like someone who's tired of being untouchable." Their eyes met. No walls, no armor, just two souls, stripped of titles, wealth, and the worlds built to protect them. She looked away first, not in weakness, but in grace, like she knew he needed the moment more than she did. "Tell me," she asked softly, "what is harder for you, building empires or feeling something real?" He answered without hesitation. "Feeling." The honesty, raw, unpolished, hung between them like a confession to the stars. "And yet here you are," she whispered, "feeling." He didn't deny it, couldn't. Instead he stepped closer, a single step, simple, gentle, but it felt like the ground shifted. She felt the warmth of him before they touched, rich, steady, elegant power that didn't need to be loud to dominate. "I've lived my life mastering control," he said quietly. "You walk in, and suddenly, control feels overrated." As she smiled, small, real, devastatingly soft. "Power without surrender is emptiness," she said. "And walls don't protect hearts, they starve them." Another step, closer now, close enough that her breath mingled with his. "And what do you want from me?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Nothing," she replied. "Everything. But only if you're the one who decides to give it." Freedom. That was her strength, not needing, choosing, and he felt it. The rarest kind of desire, not to possess, but to share a world. His hand lifted, hesitating, suspended in mid-air like a question. She watched him, calm, steady, open but unclaimed. A queen never lowers her crown for a touch. She invites a man to rise to her level. And slowly, he placed his hand against her cheek, not forceful, not hungry, but reverent, like touching something fragile and sacred and fiercely alive. Her eyes closed, not surrender but acceptance. Nothing exploded, nothing rushed. It was a quiet fire, the kind that melts steel and crowns mountains. Her hand lifted, resting against the back of his, fingers gentle yet bold. No kiss, no haste, just touch. The first moment where truth met skin, and it was enough to crumble worlds and build new ones in breath's time. "You feel dangerous," she whispered, eyes opening into his. "And you feel inevitable," he breathed. A pause, a heartbeat, destiny listening. "What happens now?" he asked, not as a billionaire, not as a king of glass towers, but as a man standing without armor. She smiled, the kind that only women who know their worth ever wear. "Now," she said softly, "you learn that power is not what you hold, but who you choose to hold with you." And he understood, deeply, quietly, that this was not a game, not a flirtation. She wasn't an escape from his world. She was the mirror that would make him face it, and he didn't fear it. For the first time he welcomed the storm. Their hands remained touching, a silent vow, unspoken but unbreakable. No promises, no labels, just two hearts agreeing to step into the unknown. Together, not owned but chosen. Above them the night sky didn't blink, it witnessed. And below them, the city lights flickered, as if even the world paused to admire them. Two souls not falling into love, but rising toward it. Not chaos consuming control, but control learning to breathe. Not fire burning steel, but steel learning how to be warmed by fire without losing its shape. A beginning that felt like destiny didn't just approve, it designed. That night didn't end at the gala, it began a new world neither of them could have imagined. For the first time in his life, Alexander Valentin, man of empires, a ruler of boardrooms and skyscrapers, discovered something he could not buy, command, or predict: a woman who made him feel. A woman who challenged his crown. A woman who whispered chaos into a king's calm. And Alina, the girl who once believed love was a fairy tale reserved for others, she found her fairy tale not in perfection, but in a man who matched her spirit, admired her fire, and didn't fear her edges. He kissed them. Days turned into nights where arguments sparked into laughter, and laughter melted into kisses deeper than the ocean below his penthouse windows. They were opposites, yet perfectly matched. He brought her to worlds she never knew existed: silk evenings in Paris, moonlit rooftops in Dubai, private concerts in Vienna, but she gave him something far rarer than luxury: peace, softness, and a woman who loved him, not the empire attached to him. Their story wasn't about a billionaire saving a girl, it was about a woman bold enough to tease a king, and a king who chose her as his queen. She once joked, "A boss like him couldn't handle a girl like me." But life laughed louder, because the truth was far more dangerous, far more beautiful. She could handle his world, and he could handle her heart. Together, they weren't just a couple, they were power and poetry, fire and silk, destiny and desire intertwined. Their romance became a reminder: love doesn't always arrive gentle. Sometimes it arrives like a challenge whispered in a ballroom, and answered with a heartbeat.